Alright, welcome. I'm going to show you exactly how we build with this material. I'm going to show you how we cut it on the ruler saw and how we screw and staple it on the wall. We're going to do that for two products, our Crusty Ridge and the Drifting Dune. Let's get right into it. I'm now going to show you how you install the material on site. So before we screw and staple the material on the wall, we're first going to cut it to size. There's a diagonal here in this roof. We're going to do that with the ruler saw, and it has 40 teeth on their saw blade, and it just gives a splendid result on it. So let's move on. To mark your spot, you can just use a pencil. Cut it off, cut it off. I'll now show you the result. The same as on the vertical panel saw, clean cut. The fiber is really fine, so nothing breaks off or chips off. And on this one, you also see that the cut is straight, clean. So let's connect them. So we're now going to install the panels on this wall. I prefer to use screws in color. There are black screws for the black panel that we have. Those are plasterboard screws, but there are also colored shields, they're called, from Woody's. I prefer to use screws because screws you can also take out and you can actually repurpose the material on its own without trashing it. But it's also a clean takeoff, so you don't need to separate the nails from the material again. I mean, you can glue it as well with silicone kit stuff. But of course you can never get rid of that afterwards anymore. So the only place afterwards is incineration. That's a choice for you to make. You can also use brads and nails. It all works. So for the screws, I like to stay 1.5 centimeters from the side, and I do not pre-drill them at all. This is the best result to get. Waterpas. What is the waterpas? To get the best results, the best thing you can do is to finish the screws on the same surface as the product. So they're flush on the surface. This way you notice the screws the least possible. I'd prefer to use screw size 45 or perhaps more for the panel. So both panels hang now on just two screws in the middle. The seam is as tight as possible, so pretty much nothing. What we do see is when it's installed in offices or places where they actively dry the air, because dry air is easier to heat up to the comfortable warmth. We notice that because it's all natural, the material tends to shrink a bit. So the seam becomes visible and it becomes like sometimes 1.5 millimeters wide. This basically showcases that your humidity is unhealthy in the place that you are in. The humidity level we condition the material in is 50 to 60% humidity in the space. That is about 12% inside the material itself, 12 to 15. But we do see that it sometimes boils down to 6%, which is really unhealthy to be in such a room. I can't do anything about it, so we do have a solution for that I'll show you at the end of the video. I'm now gonna continue installing the panels with some screws on the top and nails on the bottom. We recommend distance between the screws of 30-35 centimeters. Let me give you a close-up on the result. I'm just going to point out some of the details. The screws. Just doing this so you see how little you actually see them. Now we're going to staple the material on it. First going to use brads. They're 50 millimeters long and just brads. I'm going to do the silhouette with it, of both materials, and then the inner seam I'm going to do with nails. These nails, they're shorter, they're 30 millimeters, just to give you an idea. So I'm first going to show the staples. There's so much texture, it's really hard to actually see this. And here, so here's a brad. Ooh, I gotta search it. Oh, it's hard to find it actually. Yeah, this one. So yeah, sorry, can't show it, can't find them. Oh, here. So this is the finished mounted material. As you can see, the smooth material, the drifting dune, it's a little bit less thick than our crusty ridge. If you stay within a range of a certain material, then all materials are rather equal. If you do switch from material to material, there can be some differences in the thickness at this moment in 26. We are always working to increase and develop new solutions to the problems. So this is how you install the wall, just clean cut, cold on cold, as we say here. So I'm now going to show you a solution on what to do with the seam when it shrinks. So if the material is applied in the office, a lot of times the humidity is so low that the material shrinks. So all the smart installation people did an incredible job to be energy efficient. So what happens is when the humidity is too low, your mouth dries up and the bacteria that make you ill germinate inside your mouth because there's less antibacterial activity in your mouth happening. So when you do see the seam is coming, be aware that your humidity level should be increased. But a lot of times you can't do anything about it. This is the building, this is just how it works. So when the seam comes, we are working on a solution for tongue and groove. We are researching how that actually behaves. And at the same time, this is an always working solution. So we have different types of thicknesses of beams. You can check that out on the design page and the visualizations that we made. This is the minimal frame thickness that is now going to a client. And this always works because then the material can just shrink whatever and you don't actually see it. I'm going to connect it with brads, nails, to cover this seam, and you get a bit of an idea of how it eventually looks like. Gonna do it with 50mm brads. And because the crusty ridge is actually the thicker panel and the seam will only be 1mm, I'm not gonna do 50-50. I'm actually gonna do 2/3 on the thickest panel and 1/3 on the thinnest panel. So this is the end result that you'll get if you also put a piece of wood. I would advise to also put one on the horizontal seams. Just gonna give you a small close-up of the end result. So as you can see, the material is actually covered, not visible anymore. And the nice thing, especially when you have the panels with the flowers, is that you actually get a frame around the material, and this makes it more exclusive and more the feel of a painting that you're getting. Like these old Dutch master paintings of these flower bouquets, but then with a modern frame and a modern bio-based natural material of this time.